We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast with Legacy Partners in the White Paper Library. And we've gone through phase one, which is learning to think differently. So hopefully you've internalized all of those. Then we've gone through the phase two, the income machine, and we have 6 of those, and hopefully you've internalized those. So these do build on one another. It's very, very important. And then phase three is life, vision, passions, leverage, and a lot more. And so we've gone through these. And so today we're going to be going through dimensional living. And so the story behind this one is an interesting story because I was doing a 30-minute coaching session on somebody, and I asked them, 1 to 10, how coachable would you say you are? And he said a 10, or he said an 8. And I thought, this guy is not coachable. I could tell it in his voice. I'm like, this guy's resistant. He's not open. And I'm like, he's like a 2 in coachability. And so I'm like, he's a 2, and he's thinking he's an 8. I'm like, I want to help the guy, but he's clueless. The guy's just clueless. I mean, just clueless. And is this the one we're doing today, Cheryl?
No, not dimensional living. It's the next dimension principle. There you go, that I. No,
This one
there,
here.
that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these connect actually in together. Dimensional living connects back into the next dimension principle. If I
Okay.
had to do it all over again, I'd probably switch them, But in the next dimension principle, in this one here, it's very intriguing because I'm thinking about this guy, while I'm doing a 30-minute strategy session, and then all of a sudden I went ahead and became humble. How would one do that?
Yes, how?
Anybody know?
By realizing that maybe he's right, maybe you're both right, maybe it's not like you think it is.
Right. So maybe he's right. Maybe he is an 8. So I struggle with that. And I'm like, well, maybe he's 8. I'm like, no, I'm confident he's not an 8. He is a 2. And I'm like, but what if he's right? Like, but he's not. So there's this internal conflict. I know 1 plus 1 is equal 2. I know this. And I'm like, but maybe you're not thinking right, Mark. Like, what if he's right? And what if you're right? What if you're both right? And it's like, how can we both be right? That doesn't make any sense. Then I thought, that's the first time that the next dimension principle came into. I'm like, oh my goodness, what if, like, in his world he's an 8, but in my world he's a 2? And then I thought, like, if you're playing baseball in high school and you're a star baseball player and you go to college and the college coach goes ahead and says, yeah, you need to hit the ball in a different way. What's going to happen to your game, your baseball game? Are you going to get better at baseball or worse?
It'll get worse before you'll get better.
You'll get worse. Why?
Because you go to the next dimension, you went from high school, you went to college, you got to switch some things up, and then you're not used to it. It's something new.
Right. So you're batting the way you bat. You're used to batting, and it's not the most effective way to bat. There's a better way, but you're used to it. So you bat pretty good. But the coach knows that if you bat a different way, you're going to go ahead and improve your game, but your game's going to go down before it goes up. So if there's 10 levels in a dimension, like what's a higher number, a 2 or a 9? Most people will say a 9. Because we think in one dimension, which is the dimension that we're in. And but if there's 10 levels in a dimension, once we hit a 10 is not perfection. A 10 is mastery. There's a difference. Just like there's a difference between perfect and flawless. Perfect is perfect. Flawless is less flawed. So once you hit a 10, you move to the next dimension. So a 2 in the next dimension is higher than a 9 in the previous dimension. And me being humble that one time in that 30-minute is what, and so the less is what helped me to discover this. The next dimension principle is one of the most significant principles of all 500 plus natural laws that have been discovered. And probably without question, there's so much that's built off of the next dimension. Like what moves us forward and holds us back, the dimensional gap, and how do you break free of it? Like you go to motivational seminars and workshops. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with motivational seminars and workshops. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is there's no amount of whatever, motivation, you get motivated, there's science involved here. So, breaking free of the atmosphere, like if you want to go out into outer space, you can't go into outer space going 60 miles an hour. It doesn't matter how much you believe in it. The science, you can't do it. But if you don't believe you can do something, Henry Ford said, if you believe something to be true or believe it not to be true, either way, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So I love when people, go ahead.
What if I believe I can break through outer space at 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, then you're delusional. You don't understand the science. So there's natural laws. So you're kind of stupid. And there's natural laws that are built in. They're built in to prevent you from doing it. Because if you believe that, you're going to die once you break through and you go into the outer atmosphere and there's not going to be oxygen. You're not smart enough. So I wonder, is that the same true thing that's with money? Like if you go from 10,000 to 25,000 to 50 to 100 to 250 to 500,000 to 1 million to 2.5 million to 5 million, there's dimensions and there's protections against earning too much money that will make you think you're really smart or will destroy your life because you have a love for money. So there's natural laws that protect you from making a lot of money because it's going to hurt you or people around you. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Now, in here, you have different levels of coaching. So when a toddler falls down when they're trying to walk, you don't ever have anybody say to the toddler, you know what? You'll never walk again in your life. Just give it up. Just stop it. You just don't. But as adults, we have that all the time where, a toddler keeps trying until they learn how to walk, until they learn how to talk. But as adults, we don't get that. It's like we fail once and, we fail, and failure is not the proper word. Failure is always a choice. And there's only two ways to fail. One is to fail to try, and two is fail to learn. So when somebody makes a new breakthrough and they're doing something, you always do the cheerleader, the amiable. Encourage them. Then after you encourage them, even if they mess up, even if it was messy, like when a small child, does a painting, draws a picture of something, you can't even tell what the picture is. You're like, well, honey, what's that? I'm like, Grandpa, it's the river. Oh yeah, yeah, okay, I see it now. Like, didn't look like a river. Like, I didn't know what it looked like. But you give them encouragement. And we need to do that as adults too. We need to encourage people when they break through. So the next piece that we need to do is we need to go through and need to teach people. In the next dimension, there's new rules and there's new laws. And if you don't understand the new rules and the new laws, that's not going to go ahead. This is universal. This is universal in everything that we do. Moral, spiritual, relational, financial, you know, health wise, everything. So the teacher teaches us the new rules of this dimension that help us to succeed in this dimension. And then the coach is the next higher level. And the coach is like a football coach, and they'll get in your face, they'll bench you. Like, the teacher's responsibility is not to help you win. The teacher's responsibility is to help you go ahead and, acquire knowledge. The coach's responsibility is to take that knowledge and win. And then the Navy SEALs is the highest level. And, Navy SEALs, you never hear a Navy SEAL say nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Top Olympic gold medalists, and Navy SEALs, they don't, it's not like nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. It's not in their brain. Why? Because they know that if they accept that we're going to make mistakes, they're going to make more mistakes. So at this level, this is how you break through. If you don't get the Navy SEALs, you will not break through to a new dimension. And this is a simple to complex to simple principle. I learned this from Yen, who's a programmer in India. And so we simplify things, and then we get to a certain level, and we want to go from this level to another level. And to get to that level, we have to add complexity. We just do. The space shuttle launch, getting into the outer atmosphere, that's more complicated than a car. It just is. So when we add complexity, our productivity in business, it goes down. So we actually earn less. We have less profits. And then what happens is when we get so bad, we just get ticked and we go ahead and either go back to where we were, or what we do is we get ticked and we simplify the complexity. We throw out 80 to 90% of what we've done and we synthesize it down into 10%, and then we make a jump. This stuff is so cool, it's unbelievable, which is, the 80-20 principle, 90-10 principle, or the 397 principle, where, what you guys are all learning that are going through the 30-day challenge. Like you think you know it. Somebody watches the video once and okay, I got it. No, you don't. I've watched it. I did the video and I still don't. Like all of this stuff, like I could spend a lifetime on any one of these things. And so, okay, now how do I apply it to my life? So will anybody who reads this white paper, will they actually fill this out and give it to me? No one has. No one's ever went ahead. So people like, why don't they apply it to their life? It's just weird. So Einstein said you can never solve a problem on the level it was created. What does it mean? It means that we create our own problems based on how we think. And so to solve the problem, we need to think differently. Why aren't we solving the problem? In part, large part, we're not asking the best questions. So there's, my gracious, like there's so much in here. A lot in here. All right, Cheryl, thoughts on the white paper?
I like the idea of just, what's holding us back? Or for me, what's holding me back? Like, why can't I get into the next, I don't know. I think a lot of it's fear, but
Well, and that's where you go ahead and look at right here. Like somebody's thought of that, right? What moves us forward and holds us back. So what moves us forward out of the gap is faith, see, understand, do, humility, great stewardship, um, contentment, self-discipline, perspective, strong life vision. These are the things that move us forward.
Mhm.
What holds us back is fear, number one. But we do
Yep.
not see. We lack understanding. We do not do. Pride, poor stewardship, lust of the eyes, lust of flesh, low morale, lukewarm. These are the things that hold us back. So to move to another dimension, it takes tremendous amount of work. It takes tremendous amount of sacrifice, and it can take a tremendous amount of risk. And so, children can be relentless. Like they'll just ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and ask. Adults, we give up too quickly. Questions, Cheryl?
But why do we give up too quickly?
I think it's because we're lazy in part. I think it's because we don't have a life vision. Why don't we have a life vision? Because we don't want a life vision. Why? Because we like our lives the way it is, and we don't want to work harder. We don't want to take more risk. We don't want to make more sacrifices. And the older we get, the harder it is. There's more entitlement. I'm at 60 years old, and I'm having to fight entitlement more now than I've ever fought it in my life. It was easy when I had 7 kids. It's simple. Mark, be a man, be a dad, be a father, be a husband. Like, suck it up, buttercup. Just do what you need to do. But now I'm 60 years old, and man, I've worked since I was, I don't know, 12 years old. Like, I deserve a break. I deserve to go ahead and have this. I'm entitled to this. I mean, we don't even have the quantum feeling model built into this because we discovered it after this one was, written. But the 3 elements is, where we have self-righteousness, victimhood, and entitlement. And the inoculation, the vaccine against this is thankfulness, humility, and taking ownership. So these are reflexes, like building reflexes to where, Mark, be thankful. Be thankful. Mark, take ownership. I mean, it's interesting. I was playing pickleball yesterday and got talking to a group of people, and it was just a fascinating topic. A lot about women. Whoa, was it cool? Other questions, Cheryl, or thoughts?
No.
Luke, Daniel, questions or anything you guys have?
No,
Luke, anything?
Luke's not in here right now.
Gotcha.
He's at the office.
Gotcha. Um, Mary Jo, anything you got?
The next dimension, I'm struggling a bit with knowing which dimension I'm in
Right?
and what level I am.
Right?
Is there a better way to determine that?
Well, that's why I like business so much, because business and financial, it's easy. You just, first dimension is earning 10,000 a year, then it's 25,000 a year, then it's 50,000, then it's 100,000, then it's 250, then it's half a million, then it's million, then it's 2.5 million, 5 million, 10 million, 25 million. So it's roughly doubling. That's all mathematics, so that's easy. But when you take a look and you say relationally, that's like, how do you measure that? Or spiritually, Like, how do you measure that? Or morally, how do you measure that? Or relationally, it's like all the LYs, it's like, so that is a question that I have had for a long time. I don't have the answer to it. But I bet you Coffee Connection, like that, how cool would that be to have a conversation? Like you come over, if I'm just sitting by myself and you come over and say, hey, Mark, I was thinking about this dimensional thing and, like, and so you say, I want to take my relationship with my fiance to the next dimension. Let's talk about like that would be a cool coffee connection. Like that's not something I'm pretty confident, that's not something that we wouldn't talk about for another month. Like my guess is Saturday, the coffee connection, we might be talking on Sunday. And so you might have some thoughts and I might have some thoughts and we would compare thoughts together because I'd like to, like, I think my wife and I, after 40 years of marriage, I think like we're in a higher dimension. But what is that? And how do you articulate that? And how do you see that? But you might be able to see some things and give me some ideas. I might be able to give you some ideas. And so that would be that would be cool coffee connection. Like, but somebody to get into that conversation and talk about that conversation, it would be good for them to watch this podcast, right? And to read this white paper, right? To have an understanding. It wouldn't hurt, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and, have like this is where like dimensional living, like, it would be good to go ahead, but I don't know, maybe it's okay. But next dimension principle, understand that, and then go back to dimensional living and seeing and being like my life vision is my life vision. Then how do I see, how do I see things I'm not seeing going back to clean windows again? And then dimensional living, maybe that's good to have it there. Like, okay, I understand what that concept is, but then what's the math behind it? What's the science behind it? And then what's going to happen next is you're going to get burned out. You're going to go ahead and fry your circuitry and you're going to say, I can't, Mark, I can't keep up with everything. I'm like, right? And that's when you're going to go into unlimited bandwidth. You can. You can have infinite bandwidth. Really? How? Read that white paper and then let's talk about it. And then how do you have unlimited bandwidth? It's leverage. Like these things, like it's like my life. It's like things that I can't figure out. So write a white paper on it. Maybe write a book. Like all of these could be written books. They could be series of things. It's like, holy cow. And then the next piece is going to be my biggest challenge is me. Then you get into the secret about time, and then I'm overwhelmed, and then intentionality and discipline, and then you get into why I choose not to succeed and follow through. Then you get into the quantum world. What? And then you get into here. These aren't even written yet. But I said, I'm not going to write these until a group of people have gone through all the other ones and they've absorbed them as best as they can. So I need help, and so once we get through all of these, then we'll go ahead and move into this next world. I got it mapped out in my mind. It's like, okay, awakening, I know that one. And then ownership, okay, I know that one. And then work, okay, I know that one. And then care and fast and slow and the wizard or wizardess, like that one. But then there's whole categories down here. I haven't even started these. So I hope I live to be 180 years old, or I get, I get a team of people that are with me and saying, "Hey, let's do this together." Family and relationships, whoa, and then help versus healing, and then multiplication and clone me. and then me in Outliers, and then getting, turning my passions into a profit in business. It's like that's what's going to be happening in the future. Yeah, great questions. Elaine, questions, thoughts you have?
No questions. I was just, yeah, thinking there's a lot of room for improvement on my part.
How do you get two other people to join you?
I'm not sure.
When you're not sure on what to do, what do you do?
Anything.
Yeah, do something. Like Mark, when he's, I don't know, 8 years old in the garage, doesn't know what to do. He's overwhelmed. My dad comes out a little impatient with me. Mark, what are you doing? Cleaning the garage. Doesn't look like, looks like you're just standing here. Dad, I don't know what to do. When you don't know what to do, son, do something. Like, okay, I'll do that, Dad. And
Do
so,
something, even if it's wrong.
what's that?
I said, do something, even if it's wrong.
Right, except I wouldn't give that advice to Luke. Why?
Because I'll do something wrong.
Right. I mean, you might hit something with a forklift. You might go ahead and, you know, hit a wall with something else. It's like you're expressive. And so you got to learn, do something, be careful about what you're doing. Like get a sense and say, I have to slow down.
Hmm.
Yeah. That I hope the pickleball conversation is. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope.
No.
How come you guys aren't more curious?
Like, Mark, what did you say about the pickleball conversation?
Oh, that's a great. Thanks for asking. I love when people care about me and what's going on in my life and what I'm learning. And so we're at pickleball and there's, Patrick and I are sitting there on the bench and we're talking about like we pulled ourselves out of pickleball. Everybody else is playing. We're sitting there, not playing pickleball. We're just talking for like over an hour. And all of a sudden, we're like, yeah, it seems like some people just don't learn, but they'll learn. I think I said something about, kids, they'll learn. And then this guy, I don't even know who he was. I got his name and phone number and stuff, Eric. And he says, well, I have a 2-year-old son that would beg to differ with you. Like he pulls the cat's tail more than once. And I'm like, right, there's some people that just don't learn. And then there's another gentleman that jumps in and says, yeah, with my son, he was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 or whatever he was. And he took a fork and he put it into the outlet.
Ouch.
And he watched his son do it. Like he'll learn. He must know more about electricity than me. I would not allow that to happen. But he did. He's like, he'll learn. And then, it's interesting because this guy, talked to his wife and well, so he put it in, got zapped, and he's yelping with pain. 3 minutes later, what does he do?
The same thing.
The same exact thing. How does Luke know that?
You
Probably
might have
because
done it too.
Because Luke seems to have that same type of propensity. So I was telling him how you can know the future. You can know the future of what it is. Like you can, like, really? Yep. And it's like, and then he gets zapped again, this time even more. He yells with pain. And, the dad calls his wife and he's like, this is what little Junior's doing. And the wife, what does she say?
Why are you letting him do it?
Yeah, she's like, you're a bad father. Well, that's one way to think about it. I went ahead and said to the father who was sharing the story, because he says after he did a second time, I just became curious. I'm like, so you're not really a bad father. You're just a sadistic father. Like, I wonder how many times he's going to do it. And he did it a third time. And it's like, really? And I'm like, so, how old is this son now? And he told me the age. I won't give the age, but he's an adult. He's more than, 30. I'm like, does he? No, he still hasn't learned. And it's like, that reminds me of some of my kids. It's like they just don't learn.
I was hoping he would say that he learned his lesson and, stays far away because I wanted some hope, not
Yeah, you're not
Right?
going to get that here. You can thank Luke for that. So it gets more intriguing. Like, you thought this was just going to be you get 30-minute podcast. No, we're going overtime, and we don't do that. But this time it's like there's too much gold here. So then we start talking. Then we start talking about women.
And then
okay.
what happened?
What
Right?
did you say about women?
Right. All right. Good that the women are like women. Like, I'm like, does anybody care? No, no. So we're talking to this, another gentleman. He says that he has a son who's an adult who's engaged, and his fiance, and so his son is pretty frugal and he saves money. His fiance, maybe not as much, and she likes certain things that he's not real fond of, but it's her life and whatever. And so she says, "Hey, I need money. Can you give me money for this thing?" And it's like, well, what is the thing? Well, it's not food and lodging, you know. So let's just say it's a tattoo. And so, you know, and so the son talks to his father. And the father says, "Yeah, don't do it. Don't give her the money. Do not give her the money. If you give her the money, you give her the money. It's not, you'll never shut that door again. Like, that door will be open forever. And, it can cost you your marriage,
Why?
right?" So I said, you can tell a lot about it, like a 2-year-old boy. If a 2-year-old boy is reckless on a trike, then the 2-year-old boy is probably going to go ahead and be reckless with a tricycle. If he's reckless with a tricycle, he'll be reckless with a bike. He'll be reckless with a car. And so there's a much higher statistical probability he's going to kill somebody or be killed. You can know that too.
Mhm.
So what you're saying, I need to keep a lot of my nieces and nephews away from a vehicle.
Okay, right? But how's that going to work for you?
Well, they're Amish, so pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, right? Yeah. Like, okay, so we go in, and so the dad tells the son in no uncertain term, "Son, do not do this." Like, he's not telling him, he's just like, the father, like, my experience, do not do this. Do not go ahead and give your fiance, money to do this. Make her do it. If she's going to do it on her own. It's her body, it's her money, whatever, but do not do this. And his mom, so the father tells him that the mom and dad are still married, number of years. And so the mom goes ahead, and talks to the son. And what does she say to the son? She goes ahead and says, "Well, you're coming together, you're getting married, and so bringing the funds together and, being one and supporting your wife and all of this. And what does the son take away from that. The son takes away to be a good, fiance. He needs to give her the money. So he gives her the money because of the mom's advice. And the
And it won't
husband,
happen.
the fiance, the man, um, the guy, he gets hurt, and the dad takes one look at him and says he's a whipped man. Like he's just whipped. He's hurt. And so the dad's just like, yep, didn't take his advice. The mom, when she finds out that the son gave the money to the fiance, like you can't make this stuff up. And the thing that's weird is like all the women are like, boy, that's glad that never would happen with me as a woman. Really? You sure? Are you sure? Anyway, so the son is frustrated, upset, hurt, angry, all these things. And the mom, she gets upset that he gave her the money, not even realizing, I guess, that it's her advice. Because why did you give the dad asked, why did you give her the money? Because of what mom told me to do.
I'm curious, like, how did she word it that he interpreted it that way?
When you come together, you need to be considerate of your wife. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there and I haven't talked to the mom. But, the dad, he's like, yeah, the marriage is going to end. Like, I mean, not like that. I mean, yeah, kind of like that. Like he knows, like they're engaged. And this one act is going to go ahead and destroy, the marriage. Like the dad can see into the future. The mom, why is she angry and upset?
Because he gave her the money.
Subconsciously, she knows that it's going to hurt the marriage.
Right. Subconsciously.
And initially, she didn't want him to give it to her.
What's that?
Initially, she didn't want him to give it to her.
Well, that's where women are not the most, just saying, they're not the most in tune with themselves. Like what she wants is she wants to have a happy, she wants to have a happy daughter-in-law. And so, her son has quite a bit of money. Maybe, she's not the best with money, and maybe her husband's a lot better with money. Maybe, she's felt what the fiance felt. And so she's like, it's not a lot of money. Depending on how you look at it. I mean, he has, it's not a lot. He's not giving up 100% of what he has. And so he could do it. And so because she saw that she hurt, she saw her son hurt from it. So now, and so, so who's going to get blamed for this? Like, who's going to get blamed for this marriage blowing up and not working? Like, it's going to end up in divorce. It's clear. I mean, the dad knew it, and I did too. Right away, I'm like, yep, going to end up in divorce. So who's going to get blamed for this?
My guess is the fiance.
No.
Oh,
Then the dad.
No.
the mom.
No, for sure not the mom. No, moms don't get blamed for anything. My gracious, no, it's not.
I want to live in that world where moms don't get blamed for anything.
Are you just teasing me now?
No, I'm not.
I was gonna say I'd like to join her on that one, and I'm not teasing either.
This is the thing that's so funny about women. They think their words, are actions.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
When they go ahead and say, I'm not teasing, they think, well, they think women have a God complex.
What?
Women have a God complex. They think they're God.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never thought that either.
Yeah. See, thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. Cheryl's validating what I'm saying. She thinks her words actually mean like she's speaking it into existence. I've never thought that. So it must be true. Why? Because I said it. Oh, you mean like God? He spoke it and it was. And women have this. Women have this. They speak something and they think it's true. Why? Because I spoke it. That's a God complex. Do you have any data? No. Don't need data. I'm God. Okay. There you go. Like, this is what's interesting. Like, women are just intriguing. They're fascinating creatures. Like, they're just like, it's like, wow. And so, curious is a curious woman. A curious woman would do what? A woman
I'm
who's
curious.
a woman who, well, again, thank you. I'm curious. What evidence do you have of curiosity? I don't need evidence. All I need to do is speak it. I'm curious, so it is. I'm God. It's a God complex. How would someone actually demonstrate curiosity? Not speak it, but demonstrate it. Oh, thank you for bringing back fond memories. I'd have these conversations with my mom when she was dying. But she's got a tumor in her stomach. They've given her cancer. She's she's in hospice. I'd say this to my mom. I just like 8 years ago. I'd be like, Mom, women just bug me. She's like, why is that, Mark? And I'd tell her, she's like, women aren't like that. I'm like, Mom, are you kidding? You're 75 years old. Like she and I would have this heated, spicy conversation. Man, I miss her. It'd be so cool to have her on. You guys would love her. She's a spicy woman, like pastor's wife, so very respectful and very Christian. And never heard her swear. Never, and she was just amazing. And then she'd get all spicy, and then a day or two later, we'd be talking, and she'd be like, I've been thinking about what you said about women. I'm like, yeah, and she's like, you're right. I'm like, right? So I have to teach women curiosity. Okay. So a curious woman would go ahead and say, really, Mark, you think like women have a God Oh, absolutely. Why do you say that?
Why do you say that?
Right. I mean, so I have to go back like little girls, they're curious. They're curious. But it's like as we get older as men and women, you know, I don't know, we become less curious. And so it's like, Mark, why would you say it? So when I say something about women, it's a test to see if they're curious. And it's always neat when they're not. I'm like, really? You poor soul, you lost that was built into you as one of the most beautiful parts of a woman is when she's curious. So and so the reason is I believe it's right around, about 20 is when they get the God complex. So before 20, they know they can get pregnant. Okay. So they learn that don't get pregnant, honey. So they know they can get pregnant, but at 20, it seems like right around 20, they realize they wake up and they're like, I can create a human being. I am like God. Well, you're kind of created by God to do that. I mean, yes, but I am like God. I can create a human being. Men, they cannot. Well, we kind of have a little part of it, quite a bit of part of it. Yes, but you don't understand. Like you don't understand what it's like to create a human being. Like they have this God complex. And then it just gets more and more from there. Like it gets more and more from there. And so going back, like Kenny, if he was on, he would know from the Texas trip. You know, the Texas trip. So who's going to get blamed for this divorce? Mark will. I will. I've never even met the mother. I've met the father, but I've never met the mother, never met the son, and never met the fiance. But Mark's going to get blamed. Why? Because the dad doesn't know how to take ownership of it. And he's
So why are
afraid.
you going to get blamed for it if you don't even know them?
Because I get blamed for everything, Cheryl. See, the thing is, if there's nobody taking ownership, then I take responsibility. I take ownership for when there's a vacuum of ownership, like nobody's taking ownership, then I will go ahead and take ownership of it.
Why would you do that
So-
with somebody you don't even know?
Because I can.
Okay. So you're almost like a woman. You think you're God.
Well, I'd say almost, right? But I'm a pastor's son.
Oh, okay.
You know, Baptist
Does that
pastor.
make it an excuse or better or
No, I'm
anything
just
like
setting
that?
you all up for this, okay? I'm just
thank you,
toying
Mother.
with you like a cat and a prey. I'm the cat, you're the mouse. So I'm just playing
Oh.
with you all. So
Okay.
the Bible says, whoa. The Bible says, Jesus said in the Bible that you can do greater things than me. Oh, see, a woman, she just thinks, well, because I'm a woman. I've actually thought through it and said, is there evidence? And so I didn't go ahead and say it. Cheryl said it. When Jesus, and they said to Jesus, what, you think you're God? You've said it. I didn't say it. Like Cheryl said it. I didn't say it. But there is scriptural evidence that it's like, well, if Jesus said it, then it is possible to be greater than Jesus because he said it. But people don't want to believe that.
Okay.
Why not, Mark? I love the curiosity. With women, you got to keep prompting them. So why is that, Mark? Like, why don't they want to be greater than? I mean, they just want to be like God, like just speak it and it's existent. I don't want any evidence. I don't want anything. Like Jesus, like he had to work. He had to die. Like I don't want to do that. Like I just want to be like God. I don't want to be like Jesus. You know that. I don't want to do that. And so it's because of the work, the sacrifice, and the risk that's taken, it's like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with the ownership. And so people don't want the ownership. It's like pastors. I'm not beating up on them. I love them. I want to help them. It's just, you know, the poor souls are so depressed. Most of them don't want to be pastors anymore, but they have nothing else they can do. You know, they don't want to pastor their own church. Like, and it's not their fault, obviously. Like, why men hate going to church. There's a book out there on it, and it says that the pastors, you know, are more feminine personalities. And this is science, but pastors don't want to, you know, hear that. So they're going to tend to be more amiable. Pastors are going to be more amiable, which is going to be more feminine. And it's like, and so they don't want to take ownership. They want to take all the credit. They want to take all the credit for, you know, good things, but they don't want to take the responsibility of the bad things. So what did you tell the dad, Mark? Like, I'm curious about that. I told the dad, I said, I know what you need to do. You want to save that marriage? You want to save that marriage? I'll tell you what to do. He's like, okay. I said, you guys need to go out because this was all talk, you know, so they went out to dinner and had some conversation. I said, go out to dinner again and call your wife out in front of the fiance and your son. He's like, whoa, I don't know. Yeah. And he thinks he's courageous. And he thinks, you know, he thinks he's pretty, you know, direct and strong and harsh on women. I don't think he is. I think he seduces them. He tells them what they want to hear. And so I'd do that with my wife. I mean, I would. I mean, I'd do it on a podcast. I mean, I'm not naming any names on this family and the husband and the wife, and I'm not naming any names because obviously, I don't want to, you know, but it's like, so there's a way to go ahead and help this. And so then the guy's brilliant. The guy's just freaking brilliant. And I said, there's going to be bitterness. And he's like, absolutely, there's going to be bitterness. He said, do you know what the reason for bitterness is? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. He says, it's lack of respect. I'm thinking that the fiance, the man, the husband, the future husband, he's going to be bitter with his wife. He was saying that his wife was going to be bitter with him because down deep she wants to go ahead and in the Bible it says wives, Eve's part of the curse was to a desire for her husband. Men like to think that's sexual. It's not. You go back into the original language again. This is a Baptist. It's like, man, you talk about Baptist. They know their scripture. I don't know if they internalize it very well, but they know it. And so it's a desire to control the husband. Women have a desire to control their husbands. Some of this is good. Husbands need, discipline, control. A lot of it's bad. And so she's gonna. So the father rightly discerned she's gonna be angry with the fiance for giving in, and she's not gonna respect him. And so so what she's gonna do is it just goes all the way back to Abraham and Sarah, where Abraham, it's like God made a promise to him, and then hey, you're gonna be of a nation. And Sarah took it into her own hands. There's further evidence women think they're God. Like Sarah's like, I'm smarter than God. I'm just going to fix this situation. So what'd she do? She goes ahead and says to her husband, they're like, what, 90 years old or 99 years old. And she says to her husband, hey, I want you to have sex with my young virgin handmaid. What's Abraham do? Well, you listen to your wife, right? So he has sex with his young. I don't really want to do it, but I'm going to take one for the team, And so he has sex with her. She gets pregnant. And then what does Sarah do? The husband did what the wife wanted him to do. And what did Sarah do? She got upset. She got angry. But she's the one that caused the whole thing. And then she went ahead and sent the young virgin, the young pregnant handmaid and her son into the desert to die. Like she's murdering the woman and the baby. Like, really? And Abraham just let the whole thing happen. Like she controlled him. Sarah controlled him. And what happened as a result of that? Well, they grew up, and so that's the Arabs. And so you have you can imagine going back where, you were told to do something. So you're probably, I don't know, 13 to 17 years old probably. And you're having sex because you're told to do it. That's your responsibility. You get pregnant. Then she tries to kill you. You can see why the Arabs might be a little bit ticked at the Jews. Because that's the history. The whole Middle East peace conflict came from men submitting to their wives when they shouldn't have. And the wife getting upset when he did what she asked her to do. It's just crazy. Like you get into this stuff and you're like, whoa, I was never taught that in Sunday school. Me either. I don't know where I picked it up over the year. So hopefully this has been as good for all of you as it is me. This is, you talk about, man, this is crazy stuff. So always fun, appreciate it. Share this with others. Maybe it'll work its way around, right? Maybe it'll work its way around and this couple will get it. And so it's okay to the wife, like, hey, you just need to realize you got to be careful what you say. You have a lot of influence and your son wants to be a good husband, but you may not know what that looks like, sweetheart. To the mom, I'd say. And to the wife, I'd say, you know what? Apologize to, your fiance and forgive. And he needs to forgive. Like the whole family should listen to this and say, that's us. Like that's us. And so there should be open communication and everybody should be, so should have the dad went ahead and said to the son, let me explain at women and they hunt in packs and this is not healthy for them. Just look at the Lion King. Look at the Lion King. Let's look at the Lion King and just see what happens when, the alpha male isn't honored and respected and isn't, like it's not a patriarchal thing. It's not that. It's honoring the laws of nature, laws of the creator and how that was done. And when men abdicate their responsibility, women step in and that's messy. And it's not better. Men are not better than women. Like, it's not that. It's different. And so they need to flow together. If they flow together, it's a beautiful, magical thing. If they don't, it's messy, like really messy. So hopefully this was helpful. Crazy.